Let's talk Caribbean art books. I want to start off this channel by showing you a few of the Caribbean art books that I've collected over the years. And just to make it a little bit easier for this video, I'm going to divide them into two categories. One being reference books and the other being artist-specific books. So let's get into it. We'll start with reference books. And these are books that look at a broad range of artists, giving you just a glimpse into who they are and into their works. Let's start with the Art Collection of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. This book was published in 2019 by Robert and Christopher Publishers. This will be the most up-to-date public catalogue of the Central Bank's collection that I know of anyway. The book doesn't only provide a catalogue of works that the Central Bank has collected over the years, but gives insight into why they even started the collection to begin with. There are also a few interesting essays by Marsha Pierce and Judy Raymond that focus on Trinidad and Tobago art. And I'd really encourage you, if you get the chance to buy this book, to delve into it and read them. Over to the collection itself. They have over 140 works by a variety of artists. And yes, I counted each one. And they're typically painters or sculptors. I really appreciate that they don't just give you an image of the work, but give you the artist's name, the year it was made, the year the bank acquired it, the size, and even the medium. These are essential pieces of information when doing research on an artist, especially as a student or even as an artist. Towards the end of the book is my favorite part, the governor's portraits. And this is a tradition that has been stopped now. I'm not really sure why, but each governor used to have their portrait painted by a prominent artist at that time. I really enjoyed finding out about this when I worked at the Central Bank, and then even seeing all the portraits hung at the Central Bank's museum. To me, it's a great way to show support to artists, and I'd love to see the tradition come back soon. I'd really love to actually paint one of them if given the chance. Next in reference books, we have the A to Z of Caribbean Art, also published in 2019 by Robert and Christopher Publishers. I'll leave the link in the description for anyone interested in grabbing one of these books. I love this book because, as the name suggests, it offers a collection of artists from the entire Caribbean. We find artists from Haiti, Cuba, Jamaica, the Bahamas, Martinique, and the list goes on. I've been able to find artists in here that I've never heard about before, such as Charles Campbell, whose work I really grew to love after doing more research on his practice. And if you know me, you certainly know why I enjoy this work. Another great thing about the book is that it's listed in alphabetical order, so it's pretty easy to find an artist if you already know who you're looking for. So say I'm looking for Jackie Hinkson, I'm going to skip all the way to H, I passed his name, and boom, Jackie Hinkson right next to Bosco Holder. And if there's one thing about this book that I love, is the wide variety of medium that is showcased. It doesn't just focus on the typical painter or sculpture, but we see artists working in film, photography, graphic design, fiber and textiles, embroidery, and even installations. The last thing to note is the information. For each artist, they give you a short summary, they tell you where the artist was born, where they lived, where they worked, even where they died, along with the information about the piece itself. And again, this is crucial information when researching an artist, so I'm glad they included it. Okay, so now we move on to artist-specific books. And of course, these are books that focus on a singular artist's life, career, or works. And I'll kick this off with one of my favorites, The Light and Paint, 50 Years of Watercolor by Jackie Hinkson. This book is a gem, and it's one I used during my time in architecture school when I was learning to watercolor paint and render architecture. It really changed the game for me, as I was able to examine how Jackie rendered buildings with high contrast and simple details. You can still see many of the post-it notes that I would have used during my time in school. But enough about that. The book offers a great catalogue of Jackie's works for you to explore and get lost in. Paintings from his university days dating back to 1964 to his recent works all the way up to 2017. For me, this was great because just like us, we get to see that Jackie, when he started painting in watercolor, really wasn't that great. A bit of a confidence boost for myself. But as time went on, with constant practice, he got better and better. I mean, let's just compare his works from the 60s to works done in the 80s to works done in the 2010s. Over the 50 years, he manages to cover a large variety of subjects, from landscapes, seascapes to architecture, human figure, and even abstract works. No matter what you're looking for, you're bound to find something in here that catches your eye. And to wrap this one up, I can't forget to talk about the essays at the beginning of the book that focus on Jackie's life as an artist, just giving you a glimpse into the man himself, and it's definitely worth a read. It's definitely a book to grab, whether you just started using watercolor paint, if you're a veteran, or simply just an art enthusiast. I'll leave a link to the book below. So, these next two books mightn't be considered art books to many, but I thought it would be a bit boring if I was to bring out 5 books about painters and just go through them, so I thought I'd add a bit of variety instead. Leroy Clarke, The Distance Is Here. Poetry is art too, right? So that makes this an art book. That's just facts. The Distance Is Here is a pretty meaty poetry book by Leroy Clarke. The book offers many visuals along with the poems, and to me, they take you right into the mind of Leroy Clarke, which at times could be pretty scary and hard to understand, but the poems are enjoyable nevertheless. I'm not sure how to fully explain what I'm going to try to say here, but I think you'll get the gist of it. After reading these poems, I couldn't help but see all Leroy's paintings as poems and vice versa, seeing the poems as paintings. Which I guess isn't a new phenomena for many artists. But it's fascinating to see that Leroy was able to manipulate each art form to create a unified language, though at the same time they were both very different. Hopefully, if you get this book and read the poems and juxtapose them to Leroy's paintings, you'll kind of get what I mean. But if you have any questions about what I'm trying to say, feel free to leave a comment below. Finally, we have one of my top 2 favorite photographers, and she ain't two, Nadia Huggins. Archives number 1 is filled cover to cover with vibrant photos taken in St. Vincent and the Grenadines by Nadia Huggins. Personally, I appreciate these photos as they focus on the typical everyday visuals that we tend to see here in the Caribbean. I usually use this book a lot for referencing whenever I'm painting, if I'm looking for specific images or textures, anything that could aid me while I'm doing my work. The book was created by Art Collection, but to my knowledge, it isn't available for purchase anymore. However, you can feel free to follow Art Collection on Instagram to see when new editions of the archives come out. I know recently they just dropped one on Marlon James, but by the time you see this video, that statement will be very dated. You can also follow Nadia on Instagram, and of course, I'll leave the links to everything in the description below. And that's it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.